His teacher was paralysis. Her teacher was addiction. With love, they found each other. You are here now for the Conscious Couple podcast.
Hello, everyone. I was
Hello,
looking
everyone.
for my headphones, and I realized we don't have headphones anymore.
We haven't had headphones in
2 years.
how many
Lies.
episodes now have we not had headphones? But guess what? Today on this episode, he's not complaining about how long it took me.
Oh, no, I'm not. Actually, I don't want to say you were waiting for me. But
I was waiting for you.
Well, here we are.
Today.
It's
So
all
here we
fantastic.
are. Welcome to
What are we
yet
doing? What are we
another
talking about?
episode
Let's get to it.
of the Scott and M podcast. We are changing the name to Scott and M. I was
Wrong. I was right.
But I just do want to add thank you all for your support, for listening, for tuning in, for commenting, for engaging. It helps us know that all this blah, blah, blah we're doing is actually adding value to your life and helping you because
Is it, though?
that's
Is
our
it?
intention.
That's my question. I mean, for the 5 that are watching.
For the 5 that are watching, it's helping.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm all about it.
We're receiving comments
I made a promise, man.
that say, yeah, it's really helpful and valuable. So
good.
that's what our intention is, really. And listen, we're not going to be for everybody. I say this all the time. Some people may not resonate at all. That's all good, fine, and well. You can find other people that resonate.
I think we're for very, very smart, very
smart.
caring, very
Perfect.
conscientious,
Yes.
beautiful people.
Yes.
So if you're watching, then
yeah, right.
you've been labeled.
Yes. Yeah, you
All right,
get
where
that.
are we going? Tell me what
All right,
we're talking
so
about today, please.
We have like a little Rolodex of topics that potentially we can talk about, but we did have a request actually come in from one of the women that is in both of our courses. She's in My Authentic Life Blueprint. She's in Scott's course. She's also
an overachiever.
She's an overachiever. She's amazing. Miss Athena. Yes, we're talking about you. So she actually had a specific request for one of the episodes. So we're going to follow the requests.
What's the request?
All right. So we did a 2-part series on conscious parenting where, Scott and I talked about it. And then I had Isaiah come on and we talked about it and got quite the response from that. People loved those 2 episodes. And we talked about it in terms of like, if you have small children, how to start raising your kids more consciously. And the request that came in was to talk about those that are on the spiritual journey now that may be in their older years and have adult children, have grown children. Mm-hmm. And so now they've had a spiritual awakening themselves. They understand all the concepts and all, looking back and going, shit, if I would have known all this now, right? At 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, it would have been vastly different. So she asked, Scott and Em, can you please do an episode on how to navigate that now that I have an adult child and I'm, grown up, and how do I navigate that now with adult children? So this is where I'm just you always
interesting that this did show up today.
Yeah. So can I start this off?
Oh, for God's sake! Control much.
Well, listen. There's an example. I might have.
Saying I was just obviously just having a conversation with my one lad here, not too long ago, and I just sent two videos of me talking to 2 of our other youngsters today of basically this exact conversation. So isn't it a surprise?
And he was surprised. I didn't tell him. So there you go.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, what I wanted to start off with was actually an example. I may have shared this a little bit in the first one we talked about, but I think it's a really good example of what you can do as a conscious parent now with older children. But also, this is something that I just kind of started really, really integrating into my parenting because I think it's a huge lesson I learned. And this actually stems back to talking about like the masculine and feminine. Maybe we could do that episode next.
We should.
Talking about what that is. Because both of us have been really diving into that. But this is really kind of talking about the feminine energy as well. So there was a woman in my Authentic Life Blueprint program. She's been in there, I don't know, 6-7 months. And she had a situation where her daughter moved back home, and her daughter broke up with her long-term boyfriend of like 6 years. And she was obviously really distraught, but she was the one that ended the relationship. And so she was talking to her mom just about it. And so as we want to do as parents, we want to tell them exactly how they should navigate that situation,
How
right?
do we navigate a adult dog? How do we do that?
For those of you that are listening only on audio, you don't get to see.
Dude.
Oh, how do you navigate this consciously?
Yeah. Conscious dog parenting. He's having a fit.
You're missing the show if you're on audio only. I'm just telling.
Murph, knock it off. You're going to ruin it.
It is the Murph show.
All right. We need to get back. This is not about a dog.
Apparently
Sorry,
it is.
Sorry.
He was really wanting to say his piece right there. Okay, so anyway, so as we do as parents, we want to tell them exactly how they should navigate that situation, right? What they should do, how they should do it. And her daughter, bless her heart, her daughter, she must be taking notes from people. She finally texted her mom and said, I think she even said, don't fucking tell me what to do anymore. And this woman in my course was like, I mean, shocked, right? Like my daughter, she was like, my daughter never, I don't even think has used the word fuck with me before, let alone like said that, right? Like if I want your help, I'll ask. Like I'm just trying to talk this through with you, right? And so we kind of I walked her through this process of exactly what we're going to be talking about today, which is, can you hold the space? And holding space means, can you sit and be with your daughter while she works through her process without interfering and just be in the messiness with her? This came from a Shafali. Just be in the messiness with her. The reason why we have such issues with that is because we have a hard time being in the messiness ourselves. So when we learn to do that with ourselves, then we can learn to do that with our children. And she, the woman in my program was like, oh my gosh, I realize that I'm really shitty at holding space for people. I want to tell them what to do. But most of the time that stems from we're trying to fix ourselves in our own lives. So if we can just tell someone else to do it, it makes us feel better.
Well, because we've gotten all this advice from all these people and we know all this advice, but so we're trying to impart it onto other people, regurgitate that advice, and especially to us. But we have such a hard time doing it, right? Because we live in a habit.
Yes.
So, of course, that's why we love to regurgitate on top of other people.
Yeah.
Because, what we should be doing is just sitting back and biting our tongue and listening and being present for and all the words.
Well, and that's what ultimately she's practicing now. And I think she even commented on one of the conscious parenting, and it was like, wow, just to sit there with her, because here's what, to me, ultimately conscious parenting about. It is about taking your lens off of you and seeing your child for who they really are. But then that means you have to take off the parenting role. You have to take off that cap, and you have to be willing to sit soul to soul and see your child for who they truly are, not through who you want them to be, through your own, well, my parents weren't like this, so I'm going to be like this. Or my parents were like this, so like completely taking all of that off.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the little league dad that is pushing his kid, really, really hard. You got to, and like, come on, you got to get out there. You got to really push and to, maybe fulfill this, want in themselves. And now I couldn't do it. So now I'm going to live it through my kid. And I think but they'll listen.
Yeah.
And, so can I share with what I said today, which I was really proud of myself for?
Yeah. I want to wrap that loop up and just say,
okay.
Yeah. From that,
so
she was able to sit with her daughter. Not only that, her daughter then sees, oh my God, my mom actually sees me.
Yeah.
Right? Like she
sure.
sees me.
Well, because, and then I think it's taken as, oh, she's not only sees me, she's on my side.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because what happens is, I think when we throw that advice out that we have trouble doing ourselves, then the kid's like, so what you're saying is there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you're telling me to change this and this and
Yes.
this and this, and I need to do this, this, and this. So does that mean that I'm not doing it?
Yes. Yes.
So then suddenly a wall goes up, and they're like, now you're on the outside.
Yeah.
And
And
if you wanna
then
come
they
back
can't trust
inside-
themselves.
Yeah, right. You want to come in the cage with me. You can't come in the cage with me.
Yeah.
Because it's too painful to have you in the cage
Yeah.
with me, because every time you're in the cage with me, I now have the feeling of that I am not enough because I'm not doing what
Yes.
you expect me to do. And by the way,
Nailed
Mom,
it.
you haven't done any of that.
Nailed
So what gives you the right to tell me that I need to do it when
Yeah.
you haven't done it? And that's where that space gets
Yeah.
really far apart.
Yeah.
But if we say nothing, we get a little closer. If we say nothing, we get a little closer. It's like trying to chase the chicken
Yeah.
or the rabbit. You can't just go up, wah, telling the rabbit, I'm coming to get you. You got to be gentle and sneak up to it. And
And
throw the
connect,
carrot.
right? Like connect.
Sure,
Yeah.
energetically. We did
Yeah.
that with the turtle yesterday.
Exactly. And Chevalier talks about that, the connection. Like,
But
can
that-
you
it's
be in
so-
that
it's
connection?
so- isn't that so easy now? Isn't it so clear now that once that is thrown out there that you look at it and you're like, oh God, of course. But see, what we do as parents, we want to show our kids that we care so much about them, that they are the loves of our lives. They are the reason that we exist. And I want this for you. That's how the parent comes.
Yes.
I want this for you.
Yeah.
I want happiness for you. I've done the best, and this is kind of what we had a conversation with earlier with Isaiah. I've done the best that I could do. And granted, if you rate it from a 1 to a 10, 1 being the worst parent, 10 being the best parent, hey, if I can be in a 7, 7.5, if I can get in there, I've done the best that I could, even carrying my own shit.
Right.
And I'm doing the best that I could. If we came at it with that, and then we were just honest, but we want our kids to see us, because our kids are our company. They're our business. They're this thing that we built. And when people appreciate
Ownership,
our business,
right?
Yeah,
Ownership. Yeah.
So when people appreciate our business, they appreciate our product, they're appreciating us.
Yeah.
So if my
Yeah,
kid is amazing and my kid can do all these amazing things, now I am appreciated.
Yeah.
People look at me and say, oh, wow, little Sally is quite the ballerina.
Yeah.
I think she could be on Broadway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that where ballet people go?
Broadway?
I don't know. Anyway,
Question to be answered.
Anyway, that now people are looking at us and, well, growing up, I was never athletic. I wanted to be great at baseball. I wanted to be great at football. I was never good at those things. And now, I wanted to open my own business, my own hamburger stand. I never did that. I never did all these things that I said I wanted to do. But here's my little daughter, Sally, who is now this great ballerina, and these people are looking at me like, you are just amazing because you gave birth to this amazing talent, and then suddenly I am fulfilled. So now my fulfillment is now predicated on my daughter,
Right.
and that is the recipe for disaster.
And has been the recipe for 99% of our entire population
Yes.
since
Of
the
course,
beginning of time.
because what do? Oh, well, she's going to go to college. She's going to go to university. She's going to get a PhD.
Yeah.
She's going to be
Yeah.
a doctor. She's
Make
going to
the
heal
family
people,
proud.
and she's going to make the family proud and follow in the footsteps. And so, this is what I did today with my 2 youngsters. So Aiden is my middle child, second son, and just. Oh, God, I love him. He's just an amazing, amazing person. And sure, were there things that he got from me? I consider myself a good person. Were there things that he got from his mother? She's a good person. Did they get things from, did he get things from his grandparents? Absolutely. But here's the thing. They're all puzzle pieces. It's not my job to put Aiden's puzzle together. It's not his mom's job to put Aiden's puzzle together. It's Aiden's job to put his puzzle together. And putting that puzzle together, you're going to fit the wrong pieces together sometimes. And the trick is not to just leave those wrong pieces fitted The trick is to see the wrong pieces fitted and take them apart and try to find the right ones. That's called righting a failure. That is taking failure and making success out of it, right? So that's what I basically said to him. It's like, listen, dude, he's a carpenter. He works for the company that I built. And as proud of that as I am, that he works for that company, and that he is a part of it, the name kind of goes on, all that. And as much as I would love to be there and be there with him every day and to teach him, he is getting that knowledge all on his own. He is teaching himself. He is doing the exact same thing that I did when I was his age.
Only you don't get to own that now.
I don't need to own it.
He's doing it all on his own.
Because I've done it. And
Yeah.
that was, my dad said that too. Had the conversation with Isaiah earlier. My dad gave me, he gave me everything, but no financial. It was, this is what he said to me, if you want to make money, if you really, really want to be in charge of your life, and if you want to make money, your own business. That's it. Your own business. That's how you create that. And I just said, okay, that's what I do, right? And he told me I could, and I said, you know what? He's right. I can. And I did. And that is empowering your kid.
Yeah.
That's not by saying, okay, well, I'm going to give you $10,000.
Or I'm going to do it for you.
Or I'm going to pay for all this for you. Mm-hmm. Or let me handle that for you. Mm-hmm. Because what you're going to do is you're going to get a child that is going to be dependent on you. And this, again, is the trap. Mm-hmm. Because
we want our kids to like us.
We want that.
Yeah.
We want our kids to love us. Mm-hmm. We want our kids to, need us. Mm-hmm. But that creates children that are dependent on their parents.
Yeah.
And listen, we don't want that. We can't have that. That cannot happen in this society, in our culture, because now we are creating people that need other people in order to do. Mm-hmm. We don't want that. We need people that can be innovative, that can
resilient.
Take failure, that can change failure, that can learn from failure, that can welcome failure to say, oh, now I know not what to do. Right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think there's some quote somewhere about you cannot have innovation without failure.
I have to.
Like something like that along those. Like there is no innovation without failure.
Yeah, and then of course we have our children's lives all mapped up. Well, I saved for you so you could go to school, so you could go to college. Did you ever ask me? Maybe I don't want to go.
Right.
You know, and I told the story before about, Jet going to school his first year, didn't resonate, and he left. Mm-hmm. And, everybody's like, oh my God. Well, it's his ride, man. It's not my ride. I didn't go to school.
Yeah.
I don't resonate with that stuff. I don't know how he was planning on doing it.
That I think is the hardest part. Understandably so, to understand about this is you don't get ownership. You don't get ownership of their wins. Yes. We always say this in our coaching programs with the people we work with. We don't take ownership of your wins. We don't take ownership for your failures.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Either 100%. One. And it's 100%. Like that with your kids.
Yes.
Your only job is as a child is to keep them safe, away from harms, feed them, nurture them and let them fly and figure out how to fly. And, but it's hard because, of course, as human beings, we don't want to see our children in pain, of course. But the reason for that, actually, if you dig underneath it, it's because we are uncomfortable in our own uncomfortableness. Mm-hmm, but when we start to embrace our own resilience and our own ability to go, I can handle this, then we wouldn't want to take that away from our kids.
Well, that's the thing. You have to build a book. You have to start the book for them, and then they finish it. And, for me, it was, I took lying in the bed to getting up and walking again. I took, failing in business to get up and starting again. I, losing all my money and starting new again. And doing that over and over and over. It's that resilience. And, you are teaching your kids not by telling them that's what you do. You teach your kids by doing that.
Can we get an amen and
can
we get an amen for that? And can you say that one more time, please?
I can't because it channels through, honey. But I think it's their job to finish that book. And, it's been an amazing journey with my oldest Jet because of watching him go down his road and becoming, moving away from home, going to school out in Wyoming and being depressed and being, didn't know who he was and trying to find out who he was to where, and I would say to him, and then of course, breaking up in relationships and being alone and all that. And I would say to him, dude, this is the starting point, the launch pad of your life. Build it fucking strong.
Yeah.
So feel those feelings of, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I'm overweight, I'm not healthy, I'm not eating right. Take all those things and visit them. Sit in them, because that builds the foundation to say, because what are you doing? You're telling your body, you're telling your mind, I cannot have this anymore. And then you start to take action. That's called inspired action.
Yeah.
And now you have a solid concrete foundation of where you do not want to be.
Yeah.
And the more solid that is, if it's liquid, you will never launch a rocket from it. If it's concrete, that baby's going to the moon. And that's exactly what has happened to him. I've watched him do it. I've watched all of our kids do it, honestly.
Yeah.
And they've done it through struggle, their own struggle. We could not pave the road for them. And trust me, there's a lot of people out there that said, well, you've ruined them. Well, you're destroying them. How could you do this to them? And I'm telling you right now, they are stronger and they can, again, Tony Robbins.
All 5 of them are very strong.
Oh my God, they are
strong people.
So and second call was to my daughter. And last time I was up in PA, we went out to dinner, and she was, complaining about how her job and something that happened to her job, and and we were having this conversation, and finally I kind of lost it. Wasn't proud of it. Kind of lost it, and especially with my little girl, hits hard. And I said, "You're not a victim. You're not a fucking victim." And when she just came down and visited with one of her best friends, and the 4 of us went out to dinner, and we had such an amazing adult conversation. And I'm just sitting watching my daughter and thinking, she is fucking brilliant. She is so talented. She is so strong. She is so courageous. She's so all these things. And I saw myself in her, but in the better version. And in that moment, I was just like, see, that's why I said that to her. That's why I said
but
it.
Also,
you're not a victim, because look at how brave you are.
Right.
And
but
when
also,
we live in that victim mentality, that victim energy, then what happens? Things out there change us in here, but not if you're strong in here. Things out there will not change you.
Yes. And also, I will add to that, I think you're missing a really big piece to that story. That
I am?
Yeah, that was like a big turning piece.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna share how Isabella taught me this as well, which was when we had that really good conversation with Allie and her friend. She said something about you and her getting into that, right? Getting into that argument. And so you were, in your attempt to empower her, you were coming at her instead of just listening to her, right? You were doing it from a place of love, like, I don't want you to be a victim.
But it was also towards me. Probably more directed towards me than her. Because I see myself in her, if that makes any sense.
Oh, you two are. But what happened down here was you took you out of the picture and saw her just for her. You saw her not even like, oh, I see her and I see the best parts of me. You saw her beyond that. You saw her for who, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Not seeing our children through the lens of, oh, I see me in them. No, I see them.
Yeah.
I see them. And so this is exactly what my daughter Isabella has taught me. The hardest part, because, and this goes to what we're talking about today with adult children, is, so I thought, okay, well, now I'm on the spiritual path and I've shown her now through my actions, and now I can really teach her not to be a victim, all of these lessons I've learned, right? And I'm gonna make it so she doesn't go through the same pains I did, because my daughter's 13, almost 14 right now. So we all know that age for girls. And that's when things really started to develop in a really not wrong way, but in a really tough way for me was that age. That's really when a lot of issues started.
Sure.
And so she would call and she would, cry or be upset about a fight she got in with her friend or something that happened at school. And with my spiritual cap, because I'd convinced myself that now I have the right answer for her now. I didn't before, but now I do. So I'm going to impart that onto her. And every single time I do this, you would see the backlash. We would fight for an hour and back and forth. And it was exhausting. And then finally one day, I don't even know how this happened.
Thank God for headphones.
Finally one day, I don't know if something happened or I don't know what happened, but she started that and I could feel the tension start to rise and I just said, that must be really hard. That must be really hard to experience that. I understand how you feel. Instead of telling her, no, you need to feel. And
I've been through that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yes. And
I've had to go through that. Oh, God.
But here's the thing that it taught me. Okay. Number one was I need to just sit with her. That's it. I don't need to try to impart anything except to be in the messiness with her. Because if you nailed it earlier, if I tell her what she's doing, automatically in her brain, it goes to, well, then I must be doing it wrong. I must not be able to figure out. I must not trust myself.
You're not proud of
and
me.
You don't approve of me.
Yeah.
So something's wrong with me, right? So with the best intentions, obviously, but that's how our brains go to that. But what she also taught me was, here I was still seeing her through the lens of my pain at that age. And so if I could somehow keep her from the pain I wasn't kept from, maybe that would make me feel better. But instead of doing that and just holding space, I had to go back in time and heal my own 12, 13, 14-year-old and be okay with her in me instead of trying to fight her, instead of trying to tell her she's wrong, instead of trying to tell her she's bad, something's wrong with her. All the things I was basically saying in a roundabout way to my daughter, I had to not say them to her. I had to say them to myself.
Yep.
I had to over and over. And that began this process in the last year of holy shit, an even deeper awakening and understanding of what really conscious parenting is in the way of it's always an opportunity for us to say those things to ourselves and heal ourselves.
For sure. And I think that's, for me, I don't know if my stepmom or my dad really knew what the fuck they were doing.
Parents do.
When they raised me, but thank God they let me. I was the baby, and my brother probably had the shortest leash. I probably had the longest leash because they were just like, oh, we ain't fucking stopping these kids anymore. I mean, what the hell can we do, right? And that, I had to learn all the lines. I had to learn where those lines were. I had to learn, do I cross that line? And what happens, the consequences of crossing that line? And I trusted myself. I knew my line, and I held very closely. I could have gone over it. I could have gone down the drug, drug way. I could have done, but there was this inherent trust, and I just don't know if my parents didn't have the answer or no, we can trust them in letting them make mistakes. And listen, we made mistakes, but we righted them. We suffered the consequences of those mistakes.
Well, that's how you learn that there's consequences.
That's how you learn. And no one went to bat for us,
Yeah.
And again, I'm so proud that, all of our 5 of our children are incredibly strong. And we have from 22 now to 14?
Almost 14, yeah.
So,
and they all teach us.
They all do.
They all teach us.
I mean, at times it's annoying.
So annoying.
But here's the fact.
And we fail a lot.
Oh, we do. But here's the thing that I'm really proud of us is during that conversation with Allie and Ella, her friend, at dinner, Ella said, I have to be honest, this is one of the best conversations I have ever had because I just basically came out. Do you guys think if I have all the answers, I'm terrified?
Yeah.
I've been terrified my whole life going through this thing, going through life. And now I got to be a father and I have to guide you. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I think.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's right or wrong because it's right for me.
So brave.
So far. And I think that's because we've landed in this universe, me and you, of we're pretty sure we have an idea of who we really are. That we're not Scott, we're not M, we're beings, and we're this isn't
aliens.
This isn't our only go round. We have done this many times, and we are just Scott and Em are just characters in a play, and this just so happens to be the play this year, which is 100-year. You know, and then 100-year play. You know, when the lights go out, when my lights go out, and you know the breath stops, then I go backstage with all of the other, you know, people of who they really are, the characters, you know, that played the characters in my play. In my play, you have your own play. You have your own play. I'm living mine because the play is perspective. You have your perspective of life. They have you have your perspective of life. I have mine. And at the end of this play, when the lights go out and the breath stops, I go backstage, and all the people that were the ones that were my accusers, that were my enemies, that were my friends, that were my lovers, that were the ones that hurt me, the ones that I hurt, we're all standing in a circle, and we're all hugging and crying and looking at each other and said, wow, we really did a great job in that play. We totally believable. In fact, there was times that I was in that play, you know, seeing this scene and the 50-year scene and this scene where I forgot that I was playing a character. I really thought it was me. I was so good in this play. And guess what, guys? We get to do this again. So let's take all our cast members, let's hug it out here and just rejoice in a moment.
Have a good Cosmo.
And then tomorrow we're going to start writing our new play. And you're going to play this character this time. You're going to be the star of the show this time. You're going to be the villain this time. And you're going to be the hero this time. And we're all going to get together and we're all going to do it again. If we would just live our life as if that is how it goes, and that is how it works, and that's the reality that we are actually living, and not the play that we think we are. Wow, would we live this?
Well, we would all be living rule number 6.
Yeah, we would.
Right?
Oh, we would be laughing our asses
we
off.
would. Rule number 6,
do you
don't
mean?
take yourself so
That's
goddamn
awesome,
seriously.
right?
Right.
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome, because the next play, I get to be wealthy.
Exactly.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. It's and I think, you know, wow, I was going to go somewhere, and then I totally forgot because I was so wrapped up in your little story, honey. I was
Did it
so
really get
present
you?
and
Did it hit you
enraptured.
hard? Did I get you?
You did. I thought
did?
you were going to start crying because usually you're the one that
Well,
cries.
you know,
but what I was going to say is,
yes, ma'am.
so I'll answer first so I can get a word in before
Yes.
you go. But ultimately the question, like, okay, now I've had an awakening myself. I realized those first 7 years of my kid's life are vitally important to who they will become in their life. I didn't know that at the time. So now my kid is 20, 30, 40 years old. How do I do that now? And I think the very, very, very best thing, if you do nothing else as far as changing your parenting, is to focus on doing the work on yourself. And that's it.
Yeah.
Is
It
just
is.
to keep
It
doing
is.
the work on
Because
yourself.
what happens is when you do that, you build confidence in yourself, which allows you to not get involved with their life.
That's right.
And
That's right.
And involved in their lines. Let them figure out their lines. It's their lines for them not to cross. And when they cross them, there's consequences, right? So sure, there's times you have to be there for your kids, absolutely. But there's times that you have to have the strength to allow them to fail, to fuck up, to make mistakes. You have to have the strength. Because listen,
it does take strength and courage.
does.
It's the opposite
It's
of what we've been trained to do. So it takes a tremendous amount
culturally, religiously, all the things. But that is how we build strong people. And we need strong people.
Resilient,
in this world.
innovative,
We need
creative.
Resilience.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
That's how. I'm not looking for anybody out there. Listen, do I hope that you and I out there, who I'm talking to right now, have a conversation one day? Absolutely. Do I hope that you love whatever, when I get up here and I share this stuff to you? Absolutely. Because I want to be valued. I want to feel like I'm doing something.
Well, you want to contribute.
But inherently, I really do. I didn't always, but I really do love who I am. Yeah. I really am. I do that. We were in Disney. I'm just looking around at all these people, and I'm just, not that I was whatever towards them, judging them, but I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm so happy. It's the best feeling.
I remember
where I am in this life, and the things that I've learned, I've had to learn, the things that I've succeeded at, the things that I've fucked up, I'm so grateful for all of it.
Well, I remember Dr. Joe used to say something along the lines of like, when you get to the place in your life where you're like, if I could pick to choose to be anyone else and you pick you, like that's when you know you're really living the creator. I always think about that because I've had that same thought many times. Like if I could change places with anyone, I seriously wouldn't. Like I seriously would not change. I seriously would pick me. Yeah. I would pick being me. Yeah. But that, that took a lot of work and just being okay with us saying that out loud, right? Because most people would be like, well, that's really whatever. Yeah. But I think that's what we need to celebrate. Like, that's what we're trying to help people with is like celebrate being you instead of thinking if I celebrate me, then I'm being egotistical or arrogant or whatever. And actually, I think like wouldn't Source or God or the universe or whatever is the creator of all of this, wouldn't he want us to celebrate our own greatness? Yeah. I just said he. Oh my God.
Whatever.
Well, anyways,
I think too, and to kind of summarize all this, it really comes down to one thing. And this is what I always say to somebody is, would you rather learn how to build a house from a book, or would you rather learn from a carpenter showing you how he did it? And that is so much more impactful. And I think if we use that terminology and that, what do we call that? Analogy, that is how you teach your kids. Yep. You show them.
Yes.
If you want your kids to be happy, be fucking happy. If you want your kids to be brave, be fucking brave. Don't sit there and tell them to be brave. You got to show them bravery. Yeah. And listen, there are times where like she's not scared really of anything. It doesn't matter. Roller coasters, jumping off bridges. I mean, jumping off a fucking cliff. So we're like 100 feet high or whatever. It's
not 100 feet high.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was
it was like 50.
Anyway, I'm not here to judge her.
That's
I will
right.
Anyway, but I'm not here for that. But I won't do that. And I know that I would hide behind that. Can I tell a real quick story? I'm going to tell a story. I had, we were building a 5 or a 6-story building in downtown Philadelphia. And one of my foremen he was one of my guys. Like I respected him. I admired his talent of what he could do. And I'm sure it was very mutual. And I came down to the job and I'm like, so what do you got going on? He's like, well, I got a problem up on the 5th floor. And I said, yeah, what's going on? He goes, I'm not going to explain it. Come on, I'll show you. So I'm like, oh. And so I'm looking for the staircase. There is no staircase. It's a ladder. And it's a ladder that is 5 stories fucking high. And I look at this ladder and he starts climbing it. And I see him start climbing. And immediately I reach into my pocket and I grab my phone and I pretend to get on a business call that I have to take. That got me out of the ladder. That was a hide. I hid. Where now I will say to my kids, I will say to you, I don't need to jump off that cliff. I don't need to get on that roller coaster. Why? Because I'm scared to. I'm scared to. I'm willing. I have so much pride in myself of what I have created that I did it on my call yesterday because, I was trying to help somebody through something. Just an amazing person. God, I love this person so much. And I was trying to tell him, listen, I am terrified to ask you guys, am I doing a good job? I haven't done it because I am scared to death because the voice in my mind says, no, you have not. When I know what your answers are going to be because you show up every week and you've been showing up for every week for years.
Yeah.
So obviously I must be doing something right because, right? And it is the greatest thing you can be is honest with yourself. And when you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with everybody around you. And then that gives them the ability to also be honest with themselves so they can
powerful.
be honest with you. And so again, this idea of, well, it's my job to make you feel good. I'm sorry, it's not that way. Because as much as I want to make you feel good, I can't. I've tried to do that. I have tried to do that on calls. I've tried to do that on one-on-ones. And it's impossible. The greatest thing that I can do is give you tools and to give you facts and to give you ideas of why you are not who you think you are, why you are the most powerful God that has ever existed. And you just need to align with that. And when you find your happiness, when you find your strength, when your courageousness, your vulnerability, your ability to be wrong, your ability to fail and fuck up and fall down, it's never in the failure. It's never in the fuck up. It's never in the fall down. It's the getting back up that matters. And we've heard that so many fucking times. But oh my God, can we just get back to that and use that as truth? Because that is what the truth is. That's how we build successful people. Not because they succeed on the first time, because they succeed on the 1,000th time. That's what
and to have the resilience
is.
to keep going.
Yes.
So, I think.
I think that's a perfect way to end it because the Lord is just. Spoken to me, and I hope
I mean, hopefully that answered your question, which is just keep doing the work on yourself because when you do that,
and be happy.
Yeah, when you do that, you free your child because you don't need them. And that's the best gift you can give your child is to not need them.
The best gift that you can give your child is your fucking happiness. If you are happy, you are giving something for your kids.
Happy beyond like being a parent or being a wife or being happy in you.
Going to Disney
beyond your labels.
At the 5 million people that go to Disney.
Not saying I'm happy because I'm a mom or I'm happy. No, like
say, God,
beyond
I'm really
that.
happy to be who I am.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be who I am.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of the extra fat that's on my arms. I'm really fat with my giant ears.
You're really fat with your
giant... The hair growing out of them, right? It's when we do that and we can accept ourselves and love ourselves. We give the ability for our children to do the same thing. And not just our children, our spouses, our friends, our people around us. So there you go.
All right, guys. Hopefully that helped you. Obviously, the passionate, clear answer is to just keep going down this path yourself. That's the best thing you can do is be the example, not just for your children, but for everybody. You free everybody a little bit more when you don't need anybody else. So
there's a lot of little clips in there.
There is lots of little clips. Scott was on fire today.
Clips to choose from.
I love
listen,
it.
Please, again, listen. Comment below, Scott. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're full of shit. What a horrible father you are. At least say you comment so we know you're there. And like, subscribe, do all the things. Share
ideas. Comment ideas of things you want us to discuss or talk about.
Please. I don't know
so
if
we can be of
anybody's
service.
ever commented on any one of our videos.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes, you just don't know that.
I don't know that.
Yes.
Because I'm scared to look. I'm being honest.
Good.
Scared
Thank you
to look.
Thank you for being honest, honey. We love you all. Go be honest with yourself. Go love yourself. And we will see you next time.
10-4.